All right, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are dropping straight into an absolutely wild, high-stakes survival story. Picture this for a second. You are stranded on a massive, unforgiving ledge, literally 9,500 feet up in Copper Canyon, Mexico. The air is thinning out, the temperature is absolutely plummeting, there is no easy way down, and to top it all off, the sun is rapidly setting. So, how on earth do you survive the night? Well, that is exactly the harrowing journey we are going to be unpacking today.
Just imagine facing that terrifying reality. For most of us, sheer panic would set in almost instantly. But the survivalist in this scenario quickly realizes something crucial. Climbing back up just means facing a freezing, potentially fatal night stranded at the top. So what's the only way out? Spotting an alternate route down. But here's the kicker. It requires taking a blind leap across an 8-foot-wide, incredibly deep gully. And there is absolutely zero room for a run-up. You literally have to make this terrifying jump from a dead standstill just to start your emergency descent.
So, Section 1, the ticking survival clock. Racing against freezing temperatures.
Here is where the survival math really kicks in, and it's kind of fascinating but also terrifying. Once you navigate that awful leap and drop down to about 7,000 feet, Mother Nature starts playing a very strict numbers game with you. For every 1,000 feet you manage to drop, the temperature rises by exactly 3.5 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, it is incredibly tempting to just keep pushing down into the canyon to find warmer air, right? But the terrain is completely treacherous and your daylight is evaporating fast.
So you have to ask yourself, how much time is actually left to descend safely? Well, there is this incredible field hack you can use to calculate your remaining daylight. It's called the hand-to-horizon trick. You just put your hand up and align the sun right above your top finger. Then, you simply count your fingers down to the horizon line. Every single finger represents 15 minutes of daylight. So, 4 fingers, that's an hour. Counting down in this situation reveals there are barely 2 hours left. The descent literally has to stop. It's time to find shelter right now.
Moving on to Section 2, threat in the rocks, predators of the canyon.
Now, the rocky base of these volcanic cliffs might look like a great place to hide, but it's completely riddled with loose rocks. And guess who loves hiding under those rocks? Yeah, the base is absolutely crawling with predators. Most notably, the highly aggressive tiger scorpion. They thrive in the exact same places a survivalist needs to stick their bare hands while trying to climb into a shelter.
You really have to understand the level of risk here. There are 5 different species of scorpions living in these Mexican canyons, and every single one of them packs a sting. Getting stung out here triggers some truly terrifying symptoms. We're talking immediate numbness, intense, sharp pains, and a scary tightening of the throat. Imagine feeling that sense of panic while you are completely alone, miles from civilization. In a remote survival scenario, an unmedicated sting like this can absolutely be deadly.
But hey, in a true survival situation, the predator quickly becomes the prey. If you can manage to pin that angry scorpion down and carefully cut off its stinger, that little ball of venom at the end of the tail, it actually provides some vital protein. The catch? The taste is horrific. Apparently it tastes like 3-week-old cheese, but somehow even worse. It's just a brutal reality check of what survival truly demands of you when you are starving and the temperature is plummeting. Which brings us to Section 3, Shelter in Ancient Caves, a History of Survival.
What's really incredible here is that the shelter you might find isn't just some random hole in the wall. You are stepping into naturally formed volcanic caves with a massive geological and human history. Think about this. 40 million years ago, flowing lava and volcanic ash carved out these deep canyon fissures. Fast forward to ancient times, and the Aztecs were actually utilizing these very base caves. And for the last 400 years, right up to today, the nomadic Ramamuri Indians have moved from cave to cave as they navigate the canyons.
And the coolest part? The evidence of this continuous human survival is right there inside the cave with you. You look up, and the roof is just completely covered in pitch-black soot from countless past fires. There are these carved man-made light holes acting as shelving. You might even find a leftover piece of salvage wire left behind by a recent nomadic traveler. It brilliantly illustrates that humans have successfully survived freezing canyon nights in this exact spot for centuries. It's a stark reminder that you aren't the first person to fight the cold here. All right, Section 4, Sparking the Friction Fire, the climax of the day.
So a cave gives you some wonderful overhead cover, but as that night air turns freezing, survival requires heat, period. And without a modern flint striker in your pocket, That means you are creating fire entirely from scratch. The life-saving solution here is engineering what's called a yucca fire saw. This relies on leveraging the unique, highly combustible properties of the native plants. The yucca plant provides incredibly light, bone-dry wood, but more importantly, it literally has the absolute lowest ignition temperature of any wood in the surrounding area. It's the perfect and, honestly, probably the only viable option you have to survive the freezing temperature drop.
But building this tool is a literal race against the fading light, and it requires intense precision. First, you've got to split a yucca branch into two 12-inch base pieces. Then, you harvest leaves from a nearby sottle plant, which makes excellent natural cordage, by the way, to bind the ends of the yucca together incredibly tightly, making sure to insert small stones to maintain crucial airflow between the pieces. Finally, you take a separate piece of yucca and you just vigorously saw it back and forth across the base. The whole goal? Creating enough intense, targeted friction to produce just one single precious glowing ember. And finally, Section 5, Surviving the Freezing Night, the Final Flame.
This right here is the moment of truth. You carefully drop that tiny, fragile little ember right into the middle of a prepared tinder bundle made of dried grass. You gently blow on it, giving it that necessary oxygen, just feeding the ember until it finally catches. Within moments, that terrifying panic of the impending freezing dark is instantly transformed into a life-saving, roaring flame. The intense time pressure, finally, mercifully, just melts away.
What's so beautiful about this story is the massive emotional shift that happens next. All that intense anxiety completely vanishes. As the sun dips down, the panic is replaced by the profound warmth of the charcoal fire bouncing off that ancient soot-stained cave roof. Looking out over the remote, quiet expanse of Copper Canyon, surviving actually transforms from a desperate, frantic scramble into a profound privilege. It's this incredible moment of total connection with one of the most remote and ancient places on Earth.
Which leaves us with this final thought. This whole story is just a gripping reminder of what it actually takes to beat the clock in raw nature. It demands absolute focus, a remarkably strong stomach, and a deep, deep understanding of your environment. So, I'm going to leave you with this question to chew on. If you were dropped onto that 9,500-foot ledge with the sun going down, would you survive the canyon? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this survival story ignited your curiosity as much as it did mine.